Class is dismissed, boys and girls.
You're in. The zone!
Previously on the YTV Retrospective.
Weekends will never be the same! Freaks!
When you get home from school, you got the zone. And you got the entire weekend to watch cartoons. But what about the rest of the day while you're at school? Surely there must be something that's on during that time.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Fortunately, there is.
Check this out.
Everybody.
Check it out.
It's time for the preschoolers to take center stage. YTV has always had a spot for the little kids since the very beginning. Airing programming in the early mornings with no commercial interruptions, like Free to Fly, Tickle on the Tum, the Size Small Anthology, yes, there was more than one, and Sharon, Lois, and Bram's Elephant Show. The preschool block didn't get an identity of its own until 1994, when the block moved into a tree. This is the Treehouse.
At the end of the Blueberry Jam Trail, there's a drawing the PJs left for you. Read what's on the back. It says fun, and that's your password to YTV's Treehouse.
The Treehouse were host segments that take place in, well, a treehouse, where the PJs would take part in telling stories, make arts and crafts, reading viewer mail, and have interviews with guests, including book writers. The three most well-known PJs of the Treehouse were Krista, Todd, and one other we will talk about on a farm. Along with the PJs, the segments were co-hosted by the Fuzzpaws, colorful puppet characters that have more animal characteristics. Among them were Archie, a yellow otter with dark green dreadlocks, buggy eyes, and aspirations of being a big star, though many times having his confidence get the better of him. Boone, a green and yellow rat with a surfer dude personality who also has his own band with a guy in a gorilla suit known as Jungle Cow. Fez and Faz, a pair of platypi. Fez is the blue and red one, and the other, Faz, is brown and pink. These two appear to be a couple, with Fez trying to brush it off.
I'm not your boyfriend!
Fez really was the face of the Fuzzpaws, being seen more times on the block than any of the others. Fez basically became the Elmo of the Fuzzpaws. Foster, the bear with an upbeat attitude. Foster was more universally used on the channel, being seen on the alley and being a host at several events, including the YTV Achievement Awards. Bella, the ape and grandmother-like figure of the bunch, who belonged to another species that existed long before the Fuzzpaws existed, known as the Umpaws. And Jeremiah Bartholomew B. III, or JB for short, the obnoxious bee acting high and mighty in royalty and having a rivalry with the calmer Boone. More Fuzzpaws would show up, but we will get to them soon. If the Grogs were more puppet helpers, then the Fuzzpaws were the marketable puppet helpers, to the point where they had their own toy line from Play School. Many shows around this time were also airing on other channels such as TVO and PBS, but became a staple for the network. There were a lot of shows that aired over the years, so I can't talk about all of them. Or can I? No, so I'll just highlight some of the most memorable. Let's start with the show that was done by the most memorable PJ of the Treehouse, as we head to PJ Katie's Farm. Originally starting out as segments in between shows, PJ Jennifer Katie or Scott stars in her very own series, where she voiced and acted out the adventures of farm animal friends made of Crayola modeling clay and the barn made out of popsicle sticks. So yeah, the show was made on little to no budget, and practically done in one take, a practice which might rival Mystery Science Theater 3000. Katie was definitely a queen of improv, and able to act out all the characters as if you were playing with your action figures when you were a kid. The animals were Dippy the cat, Demi the hen, Darcy the goose, Ed the rabbit, Delilah the cow, Bryce the collie, Blue the horse, Percival pig, originally a pig with no name but was given one thanks to the viewers, and Rose Bikini the hamster. Sadly, in 1999, PJ Katie's Farm would close up, as PJ Katie became Jenny as she moved to the after-school block, The Zone. I guess the train might be on time for our next show, as we head on over to Shining Time Station.
Camera 3, get off the track. Camera 3, oh dear God!
Taking place in the titular station, we see the daily exploits of the workers of the station, including station manager Stacy Jones, workshop keepers Harry Cupper, later changed to Billy Two Feathers, and arcade operator and comic relief Horace Schemer, and his nephew named Schemy, who I think this music would fit his personality perfectly.
Come on, well, give us a hand.
Dad? And kids, including a girl who somehow gets future vision. It is a nice, simple slice of life with no magical entity whatsoever. Aside from the Jukebox Band, a group of puppets named Tito, Dee Dee, Grace, Tex, and Rex that are playing the music inside the jukebox. They were definitely an odd bunch.
Slow down the bass. Tito's out of control. Tito's out of control. Hey, wait.
Oh, come on now. You're missing the whole point of this show's existence. Well, I mean, I did list off every character. You may have missed one. Oh yeah. The station is also home with the magical and diminutive Mr. Conductor, originally played by Ringo Starr of the Beatles fame in Season 1,
Mountain climbing. Yodel-o-dee.
followed by raunchy comedian George Carlin for the rest of the series.
Like my new horn, Billy? It's louder than the one I used to have. Well, so long until the next surprise.
He is usually the person either telling the lesson, or having the lesson taught to him with either him avoiding getting caught by Schemer to make a quick buck, or his magic goes horribly wrong.
The people with a lot of class.
I want my own private supply of helium.
Oh. Anything you want, baby.
Yikes. The way the problem is solved is done in a few different ways. Through live-action montages, or animated montages using animation found in the public domain, such as the Terrytoons. But the most common way was why this show exists. Mr. Conductor would tell the children who visit the station stories about a small, blue, useful engine. That's right, this was the show that introduced the kids of North America to Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Having been on ITV in the UK as 5-minute shorts since around 1983, and going even further back with the Railway series books by the Reverend Wilbur Awdry. This is why it made perfect sense to have Ringo Starr in the first season, as he was the short's original narrator. The Thomas stories on Shining Time had to be altered, changing the UK terminology to fit more with the North American audience. I always liked the model work of these shorts. This show was a production of PBS affiliate WNET in New York, but during the second and third seasons, also had the involvement of YTV, by filming parts of the series in and around Toronto, Ontario. The show lasted from 1989 to 1993, with 3 seasons and 70 episodes, with reruns airing up until around 1997 on PBS. The show also played a part in the development of the movie Thomas and the Magic Railroad, having a version of Mr. Conductor played by Alec Baldwin, and the movie taking place around Shining Time Station. The movie, unfortunately, didn't do well critically or financially. But I think Shining Time Station was a good series, introducing Thomas the Tank Engine to a wider audience, and found a way to integrate the shorts very well. It was something slower paced that children definitely needed at that time of day, especially with many fast-paced shows for kids at the time like Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego and Barney. A simple show with a very strong impact. Shining Time Station wasn't the only show from PBS's repertoire that they not only aired, but co-produced. There were more, like The Big Comfy Couch. The Big Comfy Couch features the imaginative adventures of Lunette the Clown, played by Alison Court, who you might know for her voice roles in Beetlejuice and X-Men. But due to her pregnancy at the time, was replaced by Ramona Gilmore Darling by the end of the series' run. The show always starts off with waking up on the titular couch alongside her doll Molly. The two would do all sorts of activities, such as reading from a storybook, exercising on the clock rug, ballet dancing, and visiting fellow clowns in Clowntown, including Granny Garbanzo and her pet cat Snicklefritz, and unicycle-bound mailman Major Bedhead, who delivers letters to Lunette from either Aunt Macassar or Uncle Chester. Other characters include the Dust Bunnies that live under the couch, family of dolls who live in Lunette's dollhouse known as the Follies. Over time, the setting was expanded, as it wasn't just at the couch or at Granny Garbanzo's. The set also included Clowntown, with Aunt Macassar and Uncle Chester added in the later seasons, exploring more of the world of clowns. You know, I wonder how the clown industry is going these days.
Everybody dies!
The show ran from 1992 until 2006, lasting 7 seasons with 100 episodes. And it was the right show to get everybody's day started by just clowning around. We now go from the fun and bright Clowntown to the calm and serene riverbank. This is Once Upon a Hamster. Once Upon a Hamster, originally known as Tales from the Riverbank, commonly known as just Hammy Hamster, was released in 1995 and was a remake of a British children's series from the 1970s, though based on a Canadian-made TV pilot from the 1950s. Funny how things work out sometimes. With narration and voices by Paul Sutherland.
My goodness, it's that time again.
It follows the adventures of Hammy the Hamster and his interactions with his fellow animal neighbors, including GP the guinea pig, Martha Mouse, a turtle named Turtle, the wise old frog, Granny Rabbit, and the owl, who only says one thing.
Who?
Exactly. Live animals were used to perform, and miniature versions of houses, boats, cars, and planes were used as set pieces for the little critters to interact on. The series went on for 3 years with 65 episodes. I wonder what Hammy's been up to in the last few years.
Possible suspect, Rodney Stenger, seen here.
Why? Why are all these childhood icons becoming homicidal maniacs? Stop it!
There's nothing sacred.
Quick, tune into something more wholesome! There we go. Rupert. Rupert, based on the books by Mary Tortel, follows a white bear named Rupert as he goes on many adventures in his little English town. He also goes on many extraordinary adventures around the world, like China. The world is mainly populated by anthropomorphic animals, including Rupert's parents, Podgy Pig, Pong Ping the Pekingese, and Bill the Badger, with a few humans here and there, like the Professor, Tiger Lily, the Little Cowboy, and the Sage of Rupert is that friend who knows everyone and is willing to lend a helping hand to those that need it.
Let's be friends. You? Me? Friends? Why not?
The show was a co-production by a couple of factors. 2 television studios that were a part of the ITV network in the UK, TVS, Television South, before they lost their license to Meridian Television, and had their children's assets moved over to Scottish Television. The animation was done by Nelvana, Canada's leading animation studio, and they have done very well adapting other source materials, primarily books, having already done shows like Babar and The Adventures of Tintin. Out of all the shows that were made for the Treehouse, this is by far the most memorable one of the bunch, due to all the fan art that was showcased on the viewer mail segments. It was also one of the most successful series, airing episodes around the world. The series lasted from 1991 to 1997, with 5 seasons and 65 episodes. The next show takes us to a tiny swamp in the middle of nowhere. This is Groundling Marsh. Groundling Marsh was about a group of people and animals that live in the titular swamp, learning about things in the process. Our main lead was Galileo, who is an adventurer and enjoys learning new things about his environment. There was Maggie Muxwell, the tomboyish fairy with a crush on Galileo, Echo, the wise sage, who often tells animated stories with very limited animation, pertaining to the episode's morals. There was also a pile of technological garbage named Stax, who was also the brains of the series, the two-headed mud slinger Bogsmith, who was more the comic relief, and the sly Hegdish Yuckywood. Real original name. The show was going more for an environmental theme with its message, but wasn't entirely forced on the viewer. Each episode was more a lesson of the day, but not about the environment with topics like pollution and taking care of wildlife. It's more about learning how to cooperate with others, never tell lies, the usual stuff. The show had its premiere on YTV before getting shown in the US on the Disney Channel and PBS. Unfortunately, this show has had a lot of home video releases, and it is the only merchandise of the show to be created. The show ran from 1994 to 1997, and lasted 4 seasons with 45 episodes. Now with this next show, we may need to ask the question, can you walk, talk, dance about, and can you shout like a dragon?
Sing it!
The Adventures of Dudley the Dragon was about a clumsy dragon named Dudley, awaking after a centuries-long rest, being the last of his kind. He has adventures with kids that changed each season, a frog named Sammy who plays the saxophone, a couple of robins named, well, Mr. and Mrs. Robin, and Mr. Krabby Tree, who'd probably do well as an army general. If Growling Marsh wasn't the show teaching you about the environment, then this show definitely did. Teaching normal morals, but also added ones like don't litter or pollute. Even though Dudley is seen driving a car. You're a dragon! You can fly! One of the more memorable episodes has him accidentally unleashing the human manifestation of the poison hazard label from just trying to clean the cave with household chemicals, and the dangers that they have in the water. In other words, Dudley went toe-to-toe with poison.
Sleep upon a slimy pillow, put up with my slimy mood.
Dudley originally started as a character created by the Ontario Ministry of Energy to use for a play called The Conserving Kingdom that was made in 1982, that taught the kids the importance of energy conservation, though the character rights were bought by a company called Breakthrough Films and Television to produce the series. Dudley was popular enough to get a Macy's Thanksgiving Day balloon in 1995. Oh man, he's at the big top. Surely something didn't go horribly wrong for this one. Right? Sadly, his fame at the parade was short-lived, as it deflated during its run and hit a lamppost, causing glass to shatter, causing minor injuries. So they only showed footage of his test run days prior. Even further that the show was ending its run around this time, so the show's decreasing popularity could not give his balloon a second chance. While Dudley the Dragon started on TVO in 1993, it found a home on YTV in 1996, 1 year after the show was cancelled in 1995. The show lasted 5 seasons with 65 episodes. Around 1997, the block had changed in many different ways, but there was a reason for that. Gone were the PJs at this time slot, the only time of the day that lost the format used on many of the others. The reason for the change was that the Treehouse was getting an expansion to a full-blown channel simply known as Treehouse. It found its way to thrive on its own with many original shows like Ants in Your Pants, Crazy Quilt, and Franklin. They also had hosts of their own for a while with the citizens of Treetown. But while Treehouse was getting its footing, YTV continued on with preschool content, with the block simply known as YTV Junior.
You're watching YTV Junior.
To make up for the lack of host segments, short little shows aired in between programs, such as Ma May Moo, French musical segments featuring a boy in a world of cows, Chip in Orbit, about 2 tiny robots who live inside the TV, that play brain teasers with the viewers. Wait. They've been inside my TV the whole time? Delete! 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 My Special Book, starring a fairy-like woman as she tells stories from a magic book, and Pet Squad, where Katie was going around investigating different kinds of animals with a bear for a sidekick and a cat for a boss. Out of the many shows they played, this one hit a chord with the viewers. This is Nanaland. Created by Jamie Shannon, creator of The Grogs, and Jason Hopley, Nanaland is a show about 3-year-old Mona and her daily visits to her grandmother, the titular Nanaland. There, she plays and learns in the backyard alongside her grandmother's dog, Russell. Or was it Russer?
Russer!
They learn about different things, like animals, manners, the elusive Peepo.
Oh, Nasa people.
Originally starting out as 71 3-minute episodes on YTV in 1999, Nanoland soon had 43 half-hour episodes for the CBC in 2003. One show that aired on YTV Junior came from a company we may have heard from before. Rufus the Dog was created by Radical Sheep Productions, the studio behind The Big Comfy Couch. The character of Rufus, played by creator Robert Mills, originated from a series of educational videos in the 1990s called The Adventures of Rufus and Andy, that dealt with medical lessons as it was produced by Credit Valley Hospital in Mississauga, Ontario. It features the dog traveling from book to book, enacting many famous stories, including Robin Hood, Gulliver's Travels, Three Little Pigs, where Rufus played the wolf, and Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel? Hansel?
Even though the show only lasted for 1 year, from 1998 to 1999, it found sort of a following, including an official website, a social media presence on Twitter and Facebook, and making new episodes to this day, including a special based on A Christmas Carol, released in 2011, and a web series that tried to be crowdfunded called Rufus the Dog Steampunk Adventure. The host segments were gone, but the Fuzzpaws weren't gone that easily. They got their own series, having lots of wacky interactions with each other in their home. JB was not part of the series, and 2 new characters were included, such as Norman the Pig, played by PJ Freshville, and the sheep named... Seriously, we can't find anything on this guy. Originally a pilot called Pawville, the series became a half-hour series of episodes with segments that were cut up into 5-minute shorts. Sadly, YTV Junior didn't last as long, as the branding stopped around 2002, but still kept airing preschool shows without a brand identity. YTV tried again in 2010 with YTV's Playtime, but really, the writing was on the wall, and a few years later, preschool programming was removed from the channel. Keeping the preschool content, specifically the Treehouse, once Chorus Entertainment, the owners of YTV, reorganized their children channel structure. But, for the time it did have on the channel, I think it helped a lot of young minds improve their creativity, imagination, and knowledge for their everyday lives in the future. When we come back, we're going to check out a show that might as well have been made by kids.
Deadly Drencher strikes again!
Yeah. Ah, great, the TV is broken!
Stick around, we'll be right back.
Check this out. Check it out.
Wow. Beauty Club.